Hi guys, I'm looking at Mercury retrograde and we're also looking at the upcoming eclipse briefly as well. And the Sabian symbol for that eclipse that's upcoming on the 3rd of March or March the 3rd, and that will be in the UK at 11:34 a.m. So this week I want to look at those and talk about Mercury because it's going to go retrograde. So this chart that I'm showing you here is literally a second before it or a minute before it goes into station. So this is the 25th of February 2026 or February the 25th 2026 at 6:45 a.m. So if I go forward by 1 minute, then it's gone into station there at 22 degrees of Pisces. So you can look at your chart where that is. For me, that's just in my fourth house at the bottom of my chart. So with this it's symbolic because it's in Pisces, and we know that we've had Neptune just move from, or Neptune and Saturn were in Pisces for a long time, and they're both out of there now. We've got here, you can see Neptune 0 degrees. We had the conjunction just a few days ago, literally, and when we look at this, that now we've got Saturn, which is fascinating, at 1 degree. I think it was about a week ago. So there are two sides to this transit because with what we've got is Mercury, which is holding in Pisces, but actually Pisces is to do with the 12th house in astrology, and it's also to do with Neptune because they both work together in the 12th house. And we may feel inclined to keep our opinions to ourselves because we're going to go inwards. So what happens is if we go hours ahead, here, you're going to see it go from station, where it's stationed, into, then it goes, you see it goes a little red there. And then on the 26th, you'll see that change to RX there, which is retrograde, which is at UK time around 6, just after 6 a.m. on the 27th of February. And with this, we are going to go inward. So it's about rewinding, releasing, and relaxing. And a lot of people can feel worried when it comes to Mercury retrograde. But I personally, being a Gemini, I quite find them quite good. And also in my chart, my progressed chart, Mercury is retrograde for many years ahead for me. So you might like to look at your own progress chart and see what Mercury is doing, because you might have in your natal chart a Mercury direct at birth, but in your progress chart it might be doing something else. And it's quite a surprise to see and understand what that's about personally for us. So we may be also come in touch with our hidden aspects of our personality and our unconscious drives and our emotional patterns and deeper motivations. And the effect, it can be limiting if it comes from fear or hesitation. So we need to look at when we're having thoughts that are fear based, and that can cause us to hesitate. But the second is very deeply valuable. This transit can give us parts of the psyche, access to parts of the psyche that are usually outside our conscious awareness. So you can watch your dream world during this time because it's Neptunian. You can check out your dreams because they may have messages for you, or you may be trying to figure out memories from your past and or giving you direction. I find dreams can be quite enlightening and help us to understand our waking life more. And sometimes, it may we may feel that we don't want to communicate something, that we feel that we hold words, or that people are holding words against us. And occasionally this may be true, but this is when communication is driven by the ego. And yet often what is left unsaid causes more trouble, creating doubt and misunderstandings or projections. So now is the time to speak what truly needs to be said. And this may be something that we need to hear for ourselves. It could be the way in which we're talking to ourselves, where we've been maybe, you know, not doing something out of fear. And then we need to change our attitude to a new way of thinking in order for us to start moving forward again, which will be interesting because this Mercury is going all the way back to the North Node, which is our life path. And again, we've got Neptune, which is ruling Pisces, and we've also got it in here. We've got this, actually, it's a lovely conjunction here. We've got Venus and Mercury together, even though it's retrograde. It's already been over once, but it's going to go back over it. So this is our values and our needs, and the North Node is the life path that we're on. So Mercury is symbolic. The 12th house is a space that brings interest in the spiritual or psychological matters. So it could be that you're figuring out some trauma that you've had, or you're trying to understand something. And it can also enhance our intuition and the ability, it can give us the ability to engage with non-rational things, like it could be to do with our intuition, like we may intuit something and want to follow that path. It can be like a message inwardly. So this is a period of time for thinking. This is retrograde, researching alone. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's important that we do our inner work. I journal every day. I do 3 pages of writing a day on a small, not an A4 pad, but an A5. And I make sure that I write every day because it helps to keep me grounded and I can just spew my thoughts out. So the key distinction here is our motivation to whether we choose solitude for clarity, not out of fear of avoidance. So it's okay to choose solitude so that we gain clarity and quieten down and sit with ourselves. Because I find with what's going on, with particularly with the mobile phones, and I found it with myself lately, like it's so overwhelming when you're looking at stuff that's going on in the news. We look at all of our different apps and we can get so overloaded that taking some time to slow down and maybe not turn on our phone for the first hour of a morning and just sit with a coffee and a pen and notepad and write out our thoughts and think about where we want to go rather than being distracted. And if, we may find that there may be confrontation that is necessary and we don't need to shy away from it, because openness reduces potential obstacles, while thoughtful quiet can also restore balance. So the openness that if we want to be open about something, it can reduce potential obstacles if we speak up. And at the same time, if we're thoughtful, quiet and inward, we can restore balance. So we have to sort of look at any situation and decide which is the right way to go for us. So I did look at Jeff Wolf Green's work, and from an evolutionary astrology perspective, Mercury retrograde shifts emphasis towards the Jupiter function. Symbolically, the right brain leading the left. So this is where the right brain, the creative side, is leading the left. And retrograde planets invert their normal expressions. So where we are outward, it goes inward. It's an inward time of exploration. And awareness inward helps us to access information that maybe we wouldn't normally be able to access. And we can be reorganizing past experiences instead of gathering new data, because I think we've had so much an overload of data with the Epstein files and all of the different things that are going on. And for many, as we know, with the mobile phone usage or the things that we're up to in our lives, we rarely get time to just sit and be with ourselves. And some people that are born, as I mentioned, with the Mercury retrograde, this is an inward orientation. It's lifelong. So this is just when we've got it direct in our chart, when we're born with it that way. This is only for 3 weeks, a few times a year. I think it's 3 times this year, but I haven't double checked. And also, we've got lessons that we can learn from sitting with ourselves and being quiet, which we know, which I've also mentioned, doesn't happen in day-to-day life. It can be difficult to get a moment to ourselves. So an important feature is that Mercury's conjunction with the North Node. So let me show you when that will happen, because it's going to go back to 8 degrees. So I'm going to go days ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Where is it? 9, 10, 22 days. So let's see. It is 22 days it's retrograde. Oh, and Mars will be there as well. This gets very interesting when you start pushing these charts forward. So if you look, Mercury's 8 and Mars would have gone over, so that's an activation. And then you've got Mercury still retrograde here. And if we go a day, 2 days ahead, then it stations, and then it's going direct on the 21st of March, 'cause it's still stationary there, so 21st, 22nd of March. So Mercury, it signals that growth is happening through thought and perception with this in Mercury, Mercury being in Pisces. And this transit, it's making 3 contacts. So it's already gone over once. Mercury's gone over the North Node, then it's going back, as we can see here, on the 21st, and then it will go over the North Node again. So it's each path has a purpose. So the first contact, something enters awareness, a conversation, idea arises, and the retrograde contact, the theme returns for reflection. So whatever we've been going over, the theme will return for reflection. And then the final contact is when it goes over again, which is the 23rd of March. This insight integrates and understanding aligns with our own evolutionary direction. And because this occurs in Pisces, the process is intuitive and symbolic. It's not purely logical, meaning that learning new facts and we're gaining new understanding of what already exists. Unfinished conversations, people or patterns may reappear, giving a chance to see them in a different context, yeah? So the other thing is that on the eclipse, which is on I'm going to go back here because the eclipse would be on March the 3rd. And if I go back to March the 3rd, the eclipse is going to be, I'll go a few hours ahead. You can see the moon is 11:12. So I've got the moon at 12. So you see here, this is the eclipse point, and the moon is on the south node, and the sun has already crossed over the north node at this point, and it's at 13 degrees. And I want to mention about a Sabian symbol, which are symbols that were created. And there's a guy called James Burgess. He's got an interpretation of this, but the original Rudyard's book of Sabian symbols, if you haven't heard of them before, it said each degree has got a definition. This is at 12 degrees, and how Sabian symbols work is that when you read them, it's always the next degree. So for instance, because the sun and the moon are at 12 degrees, we go to the 13th degree of the Sabian symbol. For instance, if we were looking at Mars, which will also arrive in Pisces on the 3rd of March, which is quite telling, or is it let's see what day that Mars moves in. I'll come back to the Sabian symbol. So Mars goes in on the 2nd of March, so the day before the eclipse, on the 3rd of March, getting that moon back to 12. There you go. So the Sabian symbol for this is a strong hand supplanting political hysteria. And James Burgess expands on this image of a powerful statesman restoring order amidst collective agitation. So there is a lot of collective agitation, and these eclipses work through 6 months. We know that we have the solar eclipse. So this is about endings as well. Endings don't have to be a bad thing. They can be like, I'm done with that. It's like a inner intuitive decision that I'm not going back over that stuff. I'm moving into a new direction. So the image of the powerful statesman restoring order amidst collective agitation. Symbolically, it points to moving from confusion or emotional escalation towards clarity and stability and responsible direction. So we can emphasize here that the important thing with that degree and this Sabian symbol is clarity, stability, and responsible direction. And Burgess, and I will put his webpage below the video in the details, I'll pin it in the first comment. Burgess emphasizes that this stabilizing force can operate externally or within the psyche itself. And in moments of emotional overwhelm, a stronger organizing principle of consciousness may emerge, allowing calm decision making rather than reactive anxiety. Because I do see, and I've been doing it myself, particularly with the Epstein files, where you sort of feel that this reactive anxiety comes up, or you may go back to your own trauma memories and such like. So if we take this together with the Mercury retrograde in Pisces and its triple contact with the North Node and the lunar eclipse, which is, if we see that the sun is in Pisces, but the moon is in Virgo, and also the ruler of Virgo is Mercury. So we can see this big connection going on here. So we got communication, we got the moon, which is the egocentric self, like our feelings, and it's our guide into how we move forward, and the sun, how we shine in the world, and then the North Node, the compassion and the Neptunian connection to all of this as well. And then we've got Venus up there too. And then actually Mercury will go over Venus in a few days after the 3rd of March too. So, not actually, it's not the 3rd of March, it's before, because it's going retrograde back to 8, sorry, and then it will go forward. We can look at that in a minute. So together we can see Mercury retrograde in Pisces, its triple contact with the North Node and the lunar eclipse invite a similar movement, turning inward, revisiting old patterns, clearing mental noise. This is the big one with this eclipse, and also with the other stuff that's going there, and gaining our own clarity, not just following the crowd, and allowing a deeper intelligence, personal and collective, to reorganize what truly matters. And this period, it may not feel fast or decisive, but it's really meaningful. And we want to pay attention to what returns, what asks for reflection. We know ourselves, like what is asking for reflection in my inner world. And if you ask yourself that question, then you very much know what it is. We don't need to intuit often, we just know. It's a knowing. And then we can look at what quietly insists on honesty with ourselves. So where do I need to be honest with myself? And the guidance we need is not new information, but a deeper understanding of something that we already know. Okay, so let's just look. Before I go, we're going to go and look at days here, and we're going to look at this Mercury go retrograde back to, there you go, 8 degrees retrograde, and then it's going to go over, and actually Venus will be way ahead then. It would have moved quite substantially. Venus moves much quicker. And let's look at the Mercury going days ahead. So it will go over the North Node, 23rd, 24th. Then it will go over Mars, maybe. Or is it not going to, not in Pisces? No, because then we've got Mars will then move into Aries as well. And then we're done with Pisces then, literally, apart from the North Node. And then we've got all of this in Aries around the 16th of April. Go back one, 15th. So on the 15th of April, we're going into Aries. We've got 0 degrees Aries, Mercury. We've got Neptune, 2 degrees of Aries. We've got Mars, 4 degrees of Aries. And we've got Saturn, 7 degrees of Aries. That will be an interesting time. And the Sun will be at 25 degrees of Aries. So we've got a way to go before we reach then. And I hope this has been useful to you. And I will put the Sabian symbol below, because when I listened to the video that James Burgess put together, it really spoke of the times that we're in. And I think it would be really useful for you to have a listen to it. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you later.